Hello, one and all, and welcome to Creative Spark, my interview show where I talk to cool people about the cool things that they do. And with me today is the immensely over-talented Amy Vorpahl.
Yay! Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, all things considered.
All things considered, yeah, but that's just
Yes.
life. I think that's
Yeah,
just the
yeah,
default,
yeah.
right?
Oh, for sure.
I had a real issue picking a specific intro thing for you because you kind
I
of do
know.
everything.
I know. I know. I'm the worst. I've settled on either internet nerd or content creator, I guess, or sometimes I'll say internet baby, but like sometimes that also leads to in our circles it wouldn't, but like other
Yep,
people might think of, something else. So yeah,
it can get
internet
weird.
nerd has been what it is because writer, dungeon master, actor, singer-songwriter,
Hmm.
game designer,
Yep,
all of those things.
writer.
Yes,
You do
writer
too
as
much.
it's the nature of the business. It wasn't by choice. It's very mercenary in nature. Like, yeah, what's paying today? I guess I'll be that.
I mean, I respect that. I mean, that leads nicely into my first question, which is what was the first creative thing that you found some sort of professional success with?
Oh, definitely acting. So I went to college for acting, and while I was in college, I auditioned for a couple of things. Went back home, which at the time was Houston,
Mm.
and it was my first paycheck to act, and I got to do like a small play at like a big theater, a small play at a big theater, and then I got to do a small musical at a big theater,
Okay.
and both of those were like, whoa, I'm getting paid like crazy, and and yeah, I mean, I guess I had earned money as working at IHOP, and
Mm.
I worked at school. I worked in like an administrative office as well. I worked all through college, but this was the first time I was like, oh my gosh! And I remember seeing the check and being like, I have to remember this.
I mean, that's amazing. At what point, how did you go from that to kind of where you are, which is then doing, like you say,
Oh
you've
boy,
kind of
yeah, I
branched
know.
out everywhere.
Yes. Well, I moved to LA right after college, and then so I'd always played D&D, but at first the so I got a I guess I had a day job, which was recruiting nurses for nursing homes, and I
Mm.
did that for 9 years. And while I was doing that, I was auditioning for commercials and TV, and mostly commercials and TV, doing some like indie films and short films there too as an
Hmm.
actor. But at the same time, I took a bunch of improv classes because I was I had started out in LA going, oh, okay, I guess I'll continue my acting education. But
Mm.
every acting school wanted to do more Arthur Miller plays and Tennessee William plays. And I was like, didn't we do it enough? Like, can we not? Certainly there are other plays. And so I think I got burned out on like that type of acting study,
Hmm.
and improv was this magical world where it is acting and writing all at once.
Mm.
You get your messy fingerprints. It's like finger painting when all you've been doing is like high sculpture,
Yeah.
and I loved it. And then I joined a sketch comedy group, and then kind of went that way into, because sketch comedy, you are also a writer, and
Mm.
I once you start writing your own thing or dungeon mastering, which I consider the same thing, it's really addicting. It's really addicting. Like, it's hard to go back to, oh, I'll just say words that other people want
Yeah.
me to say. However, when that does happen, it does now feel luxurious, where you're, what, you wrote the lines for me and I just say them? That's pretty, yeah, luxurious is the word I'll use. So then I guess how we got to D&D land was I joined a group of people called Saving Throw, and we just started playing games. We started as kind of, we're gonna be the education. We're
Mm.
gonna like teach people how to play Pathfinder of all things. And through that, we started playing D&D every other week, and that turned more and more regular. And then yeah, I got in with the other content creators who were making D&D content, and started working in that realm with Nerdist and Geek and
Mm.
Sundry and College Humor at the time. So yeah.
with regards to college humor, which obviously became Dropout,
Yes.
you're, I think, best known on Dropout for breaking news.
Yes, I also think so. I also think I'm best known on the internet for specifically breaking news. At this point, when people come up to me and they recognize me, I'm like, is it? And they're like, yeah, do the face. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. There are worse ways to be known on the internet, I
100%.
will say, than just, being delighted by things.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, having an
Yeah.
infectious laugh, basically,
And an
is your selling
infectious,
point there.
exactly. Yeah. People are like, I'd like to be around that person. Not the worst thing in the world. Pretty great, actually.
How did you end up there? Like, how did you end up doing the breaking news and everything?
So I was part of everybody on that platform is basically from UCB,
Mm-hmm.
Upright Citizens Brigade, the improv thing, and I did UCB. I think a lot of them are from New York, but I did UCB around the same time.
Okay.
The way I got in with them was because I was working at Nerdist and Geek and Sundry as a writer for comedy shows like Sidekick with Matt Myra and Mothership. Nobody knows about those, but they're like one is a late night show, one is a variety show, and it's comedy writing. And I also was a host there, and I like was the sub host for Jessica Chobot doing Nerdist News. So and then through that I also was like on a bunch of TTRPG shows, dungeon mastering, and all that kind of thing. So when Dropout wanted, or I guess College Humor at the time, they were looking for people to be on Actually, and specifically they were trying to fill a D&D couch. I don't know if that was my first appearance. Gosh, was it? No. It wasn't my first appearance, but yeah, they were like looking for nerdy, funny people in the nerd sphere, and that was me. So I think my first work with them was actually on the couch answering questions, and it was a fun time. And so they kept having me back. And then Breaking News was a Grant O'Brien project that just was like, hey, let's give this a shot. And I was like working next door. It's so crazy because I almost wasn't able to go to it because I had a gig. But we were working in buildings right next to each other. And I was like, hey, can I just go and do this? Apparently it's only going to be 15 minutes of shooting. And then I was going to go off and shoot this other thing where it was called Live from the Eighth Dimension. Again, something no one's heard of, but I was the lead in it for 2 years. And it's on the internet. So, go look for it, but no one has seen it or heard of it, which is totally fine. I'm proud of my work on it though. But anyway, so yeah, I was able to go next door. I did the face. I was like, great. The goal is to not laugh. I got this. And then as soon as it's over, Schaumbach was like, can you stay? And I was like, I literally cannot. Like this worked, it's sand through my fingers how this is working. And so I had to leave, but I think it all worked out for the best because it was such a staple episode, I think, for the whole show and for me, honestly, that if I had done another one, like who knows what the lore would have been at that point. So I really wanted to, because gosh, what the easiest gig, the most fun time of your life, trying not to laugh, not being able to keep it together, and just and the entire crew is laughing the entire time too. So you're like, can you guys stop? But yeah, that's how I was able to do it. So yeah, it went, I think I'm actually, and then got in through there. And the comedy scene, as vast as it is, and how as many people are studying and attempting this, it's like it also is very small. Sometimes it feels like there's 5,000 people. Sometimes it feels like there's 500.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like there's 5. So yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Sorry, long answer.
No, it's good. Long answers is always good.
Okay.
I've said this to multiple people. Like, the ideal with interviewing people is that I say like 3 things during the entire episode.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
So it's perfectly fine.
All right.
At what point did you start doing music throughout all of that?
Oh, yeah. So I've always sung. I've always like been in musicals and stuff like that. But when we were doing Saving Throw, the first thing that we did was this How to Play Pathfinder. And it was this web series. And and we kickstarted it. And one of the rewards was, we'll write you your own song. Like, you tell us if it's about you, a friend of yours, or a partner or something, or if it's about a like D&D character, and we'll write you an original song. So we go to the end of the we get to the end of the Kickstarter, and weirdly enough, I don't know how this happened, because Tyler had written a parody of Just Give Me a Reason, and he wrote Just Give Me a D6, and we made a whole music video for it, and like he and I sang on it, but it was like he wrote it. And then we get to the end of the Kickstarter, and everyone's like, okay, Amy, and you'll write the songs. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you actually talking about? No, I won't. Because there were about 20, I think there were 22 songs to write.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's so many. And I don't do that. And they're like, well, you do now. That's your contribution. They just assigned it to me. And I was like, oof, okay, I guess I better like learn how to write songs. So yeah, I basically got a crash course in songwriting. And I mostly used my ukulele for sure. And then I would go and look at, I found like old Irish Celtic songs, folk songs basically from Ireland. And then also, weirdly old timey church songs, and then just change up, like the chords were always the same, CDG. And then I would like listen, because I don't know, I imagined people wanted it to sound fantasy, and those things sounded a bit fantasy to me, and upbeat without feeling too like dirgy. So I wrote 22 songs, and after that I was like, well, I don't want to write songs for other people anymore. Why don't I just start writing songs? And then I did for myself. But it was out of like, it was forced onto me. But I'm glad it was too.
I mean, that must have been terrifying, trying to figure out how to write songs as it being professional in like almost immediately, basically.
Yeah, I had done some musical improv before, and so there was a lower barrier of entry than I thought. And I had grown up, I mean, I think we all, but I was obsessed with Weird Al, and I had written down there wasn't the internet, and I had written down every lyric to every song he had ever written, and like was mesmerized. And as a kid, I would try to write parodies. One that does not hold up was, this is like from the 60s. There's a song called You're My Special Angel. And I wrote You Are My Special Ankle. And I wrote it about a person who had like a wooden ankle. And I was like, so it's very strange. It's one of those like, okay, Amy, like, I think I just liked that it rhymed with angel, but it's gotten better since then. My sensibilities. Still proud of myself for giving it a good old college try, though.
No, for sure. I mean, that
was when I was like, God, 8, 9, something like that.
That is impressive.
Yeah.
You also, we'll get through the list of stuff that you've done shortly.
Okay. Like, that's fine.
I'm just being nosy.
Oh, fine.
I mean,
yeah.
To be fair, that's the whole point of the show.
Yeah. I'm not confused why I'm here.
Yeah, no, I know. I don't know why I'm
for you to like poke and prod.
Like, oh, do you mind if I ask another question?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just so writing for Candlekeep.
Oh yeah.
Also, how did that come about?
How did that come about? It was really cool. So I had played with Chris Perkins in a game, and Matt Mercer and Pat Rothfuss, plus some others, Elisa Teague and just some other notable names at a convention at Gamehole Con. So Chris Perkins knew me ish, like we'd played together. Yeah. And then there was one time he sent out a tweet that was like, anybody in the community ever write an adventure? And I was like, as a matter of fact, I have. I had written 3 at the time for a friend of mine has a company called Dungeon in a Box.
Okay. And
they provide a new adventure plus like accoutrement per month. And it's a subscription-based thing. And so I had written 3 adventures for them. And so, I was like, I have like a year or 2 go by, and nothing. Like, I don't know. I forgot that I had even replied that yes, I did. But I get this email that's like, hey, do you want to write an adventure for Wizards of the Coast? We're doing a mystery anthology. And like, I'm not the only person who did this either. Wrote back and go, hey, are you, I don't know where you, yeah, like, okay, so short answer, yes, but long answer, are you sure you emailed the right person? I'm Amy Vorpahl. Like you might, just putting out there that you might have gotten a different Amy, or like, and they were like, no, like, we are intentionally asking you to, if you want to do this. And I was like, okay, sure. So then it was just off to the races from there. You had to pitch your adventure, and I got a resounding yes. I remember getting the email back where Chris Perkins just goes, this sounds delightful. And I'm like, oh my God, he likes my adventure. And I would say, and then you write it, you get like a bunch of notes back. I got a bunch of notes back. Like, it was a bleeding draft, 8,000 words. And the rewrite went really well. And I would say, and then after the rewrite and you turn that in, they play test it, they rework it and rewrite it. I would say 85% of what I wrote is in the book. And then there's like this extra 15% that I can tell Chris and the editor, the person who was kind of in charge of that, made it just better. But I am proud that my adventure, I think a lot of people went kind of dark. When they hear mystery, you think dark and like noir almost, or murder mystery, that kind of thing. And mine is silly, which I didn't set out to do. I wasn't like, I'm going to make a silly adventure because everyone else is. I just like was like, what would be fun? Okay, this. And then as I was developing it, it was like, oh, this is very grounded. Yes, I can see how these people. And then like you read it back and it's like, right. Yeah, that's pretty silly actually. So I've heard from people in the world have like tweeted at me, and they've all had a really good time with it. So that's a really nice.
I mean, that's amazing. Is that something you'd like to do more of?
Well, I am the creative director, like the big boss of a book that is coming out that either already came out. It's definitely done, I'll tell you that. But I'm the creative director of a book for Alchemy RPG, and it's a full world building and a full campaign. So it's a huge book. And I was the head writer, creative director, and then I hired some other writers to help finish it. But yeah, I would say that's a brainchild of mine. So I have done more, and I will say, if it paid better, I would want to do it more. But it is a hard thing to do for the amount of money. The ROI is interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm very candid. About that, because for the passion and the, like, it's so cool to have written an adventure that gets published at Wizards of the Coast. That's so cool. It is still like a hobby rate. Like, it's not going to pay. It's not, you can work it so that your job is adventure writing, TTR, but it pays. It's less than journalism. It's like a really, really low amount of and I'm saying this all with like caveats, like, oh, I'm sure you could find a place that pays full time or whatever, but for the most part, just writing cents per word, it's a heavy lift. I'll tell you that. So I'm so happy I have done it. I regret nothing. Everything paid very fairly, I will say. And then it's just the amount of work and creativity that goes into it versus like the output and what you get at the end of it. The other reason that I probably wouldn't say that I would do it, I would do it again. I just wouldn't make it my main thing if I had like a good idea or something. And the other reason is because I like performing. And if you're writing these adventures, you're writing it for kind of other people to perform, which is great. I love being a source of fun. But what I have at the end of the day is kind of like a doorstop, and like, to not to be crude, but yeah, it's just a manuscript. And I enjoy more performance. And I have performed my adventure. I have like done it on streams a couple of times, but yeah, all those reasons, it's like, it's pretty cool. And it's almost, it's good as a one-off, like every once in a while. Yeah.
No, that's really cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. No, as somebody who writes for a living, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, it's very gremlin in a corner, and I like to be around people, so I can't do it forever.
Yes, that's fair. Also, I think it's really refreshing to talk to someone who's is someone mowing their lawn?
Yeah, they're walking right by the window, and they'll be gone in like really soon, but they're really doing it right now.
We'll push through.
Good job, guys.
Don't they know
the
who
windows
you are?
closed, the doors closed. They're just literally right outside the door. I'm on the first floor, so we'll let them. They're leaf blowing, which I hate. Like leaf the they're moving away now, but like the machine of a leaf blower makes me so irked. I really hate that the idea that someone thought of it. They're like, instead of sweeping, we'll blow, and it's like, what? And then it's just this loud, like gas guzzling, and the smell.
Yep.
And what are you? I guarantee you, raking and sweeping takes a lot less time too.
Because you're just blowing. Yeah, no. As someone with horrific hay fever as well, I see a leaf blower in the summer, and I'm like, well, this is it.
Yeah. I'm dead.
I'm dead for the next 3 days.
Yes.
Like,
yes. Oh,
I
that's
get to
so
rise
funny.
from my tomb in a few days with like purple eyes and a bleeding nose or something. Yeah, it's great. Wonderful. Love the summer.
They're done now.
I may or may not cut that out. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
I'm going to cut it out because now my brain's completely paused. Writing.
I didn't even know what we were talking about.
Oh, that's it. It's kind of refreshing to hear someone talk. I'm going to use the word mercenary. I don't mean that in a negative way, but
I know I use it all the time.
Yeah, I describe myself
entertainment business is a business.
Well, business is business, right? Like we didn't choose to live in capitalism, but we've got to survive in it. So.
Oh yeah. Everyone should make as much money as they freaking can. Let's go.
100%. Yeah. So essentially, I find that really refreshing.
Yeah.
Okay, we've kind of covered some of the stuff you've done. I don't think it's possible to cover everything you've done.
No, let's not actually. Yeah.
Yes. So let's move on to what's coming next, because you've somehow managed to. I feel like I've caught you at a really good time because you're both in the upcoming Faster Purple Worm Kill is my understanding, along with being the DM for Sagas of Sundry.
Yes.
Which is, to my mind, kind of a revival of the Geek and Sundry channel. I know it's been existing.
You're right. It's been dead. There has not been any activity, and this is it coming back to a point. So I know there's an effort to revamp it. But here's something you might not know. So Nerdist and Geek and Sundry and Smart Girls at the Party, Amy Poehler's Smart Girls at the Party, 3 different internet platforms for content that are all digital, that Legendary, the movie company, bought all 3 of them.
Okay.
Nerdist from Chris Hardwick, Geek and Sundry from Felicia Day, Amy Poehler, Smart Girls at the Party from Amy Poehler. So Legendary owns all 3 of them. I haven't heard from Amy Poehler, Smart Girls at the Party. I don't know what's going on there, but Legendary still owns Nerdist and Geek and Sundry.
Right.
And when it all folded, which was mostly around Alpha, if you remember, that was like their effort to make their own paywall of content, Alpha, that went away, and so did a lot of jobs, and then they were left with the skeleton crew. And I don't know his title, but the guy in charge of now both Nerdist and Geek and Sundry is Dan Casey, who, if you remember, is like a big player was a big player for Nerdist, and was a host and had lots of shows, and a big writer, producer, host, actor. Like he just was in a lot of stuff, and now he's in charge of both of those things. And other than that, it truly is a skeleton crew for both sectors, and they're kind of one and the same, but not really. And so they've still been putting out content, mostly doing branded stuff. But the way this came about was there's a podcast network called Realm, and basically Realm, Realm said, we'll split the bill if we get the audio for our network,
Yeah.
and then you get the video for your YouTube channel, Geek and Sundry. So I don't know what the split is, but the reason it's happening is because, not to be mercenary, but because there's like help, there's like money help. So that being said, is it a revival of Geek and Sundry? Everyone's crossing their fingers this goes very well. The audience is excited and renewed, and there is more to be done. The other chance is that, okay, that was nice, that was a one-off thing. Everyone will just need more money from somewhere to do anything else, and maybe that will, and maybe that won't happen. But now, everyone has been asking me like, Amy, are we back? Like, can we do it? And I'm like, yeah, like this was it was such a good, I say was because we finished shooting in May. And so it's like, it was such a good gig for me. And it was so fun and perfect and aligned, and got to play with my friend, like no notes, like it was just the perfect gig. And then I don't know. People are like, hey, can I play on this thing? And I'm like, you're too late. Like it's done. And I don't know. I just don't know what the future of it is, but I'm really excited for it to come out so that we can like see what happens.
Was it nice to be in the DM seat for that?
It was, yeah.
As kind of a, obviously you're a big name DM anyway, but it feels as though it's one of the first times where you're being like really paraded at the front of one of these things.
Like yes, I've done some other streams, but you're right, they've been like maybe one shots or four episodes. Nothing like 20 episodes for sure. And definitely have played my own home games, but yeah, to be like the front facing dungeon master it's really cool. And the best, there are two things that it's going to be really hard to go back from this. So one was the hair and makeup, which I can't really talk about because there's no pictures yet. But we really were able, my best friend, I have a lot of best friends, but she's one of them, and she's the hair and makeup person. She's the one who like made my hair purple. She's been doing my hair and makeup forever. Close friend Cece, and they just let her go nuts on my face. So there's going to be some really cool looks, and that's enough for me. Like if I get to be the dungeon master and like look fun, glam, but also weird, a little ugly sometimes, like all of that stuff is just like a dream. And Cece's the best. Like she's an artist, she's a painter as well as a hair makeup artist. So she really, we really got to play as much as time permitted because it was a shoot day. And then the other thing was I got story producers, which I know the big names get like a team of people producing, and actually they like offer suggestions of how the story goes. A little behind the scenes for you, like the dungeon master for any of the things that isn't the only person writing the story at all. Like no, they're just not. And they're not the ones coming up with the big production. A lot of the things are like, maybe born from the DM's brain and that kind of thing. But a lot of it is, it's a show. It's like a TV show. So there's like other people offering cool set pieces and narrative cinematic moments on the mini table and otherwise. And anyway, I had never had anything like that before. So I had two story producers. One was more about keeping track of the stuff that came out of my mouth and the players, and like the names and keeping track of everything. And then another one was actually doing the same thing, like coming up with, okay, if this happened, what's the title? What can we give to the social media team? What are good moments to clip out? That kind of thing.
Hi there, this is editor Jason from the future of when I recorded the video, but not from the future from now, which would be in the past. Don't worry about that too much. Unfortunately, there were some tech issues during this particular segment of the interview. Amy was wonderfully enthusiastic about her castmates and about the people that she was working with. She said it was an absolute delight to work with all of them. And then I asked about a session 0. Then she explained that the concept for the upcoming season was about being the bad guys effectively, but being henchmen on the level of a basic enemy in like Legend of Zelda, where you're hiding behind a crate waiting for the hero to arrive. Stuff like that. That's the context for this next bit. So let's get back to the interview.
So we start where the adventurers have cleared out the adventurers. I called them the gallantlings because in the vocabulary, I didn't want there to be good guys and bad guys, because the good guys are our little like minions
Yeah.
now. So they'll be fighting. I was like, so that's just doing too much work where I'm like, well, who's good and who's bad? Like that's gonna be a gray area. So the Gallantlings are the kind of normal PC adventurers. They clear out the dungeon and we're left with these minions who just kind of find themselves like, like hello. But everything else is kind of demolished. And so all that being said, when we did a session 0, it was still muddy because also it's just tricky. It's so much fun to play evil. Like, oh yeah, we're going to play evil. We're going to play evil. But you still have agency and wants in the world that are justified, that are validated too. And so it was just tricky in the session 0, like to, I think I just had them fighting some people who went through the dungeon, but because they were so innocuous, and it was just one of those like, oh, I played Lasers and Feelings. We didn't play D&D for session 0. It was just like, I just want to see what happens, and I don't know what the rules are yet either. And everyone's just figuring out like, okay, so are we supposed to kill these like adventurers? And it was like, oh, that's yeah, but you aren't the ones who should, except you are the main characters. So it was just this like back and forth of going, okay, we need to solidify what the deal is. And definitely in session 0 we did, before, thank God, we started the adventure. And then through the adventure, it's very clear, like there's agency, there's support, there's evil, like world demolishing evil, and then there are these minions who are employees, and doing a gig. So we definitely branch out from whatever that is, and it winds up being a story of agency. Like you get to decide, you minions finally have the chance to decide rather than just hero worship a big evil guy.
Do you get much chance to play in like home games on your own?
No, I think the word is forever DM. When I do, it is lovely. But here's it's not the bad part, but there, everything comes with a price. And once you've DM'd for 3 to 4 hours for a session, you're plugged in. You're just in the zone because you have to be, and like 5 things are going on at once. And it's this huge challenge, but your brain is activated in a really compelling and like satisfying way. Then when you move to character, that it's a fraction of the time that you're doing that. And that to me is actually the tricky part. It's not playing or thinking of whatever. It's just like, oh, my brain's not on fire for 4 hours. And that's addicting. I will say it's like really addicting to have your brain just going like, okay, the narrative and the puzzle pieces and your beautiful minding, and it's the forest through the trees, and then it's the trees through the forest, and that character and moving the spotlight, and you're writing and directing and all, and being characters and acting, all of this at once is really addicting. And so to switch to a character, there's a version where it's like, oh, very relaxing, and I can just like take a beat, and it's not like I'm not the entire weight of the game isn't on my shoulders, and yet you don't get that brain surge either. So
is there anything in particular you want to plug? I assume Sagas and Sundry would be the thing.
Yeah, kind of. So I'm working on making my own actual play. There's nothing to promote as of yet, but it will be with my. Right now, the way it's going to work is it's going to be with my old saving throw crew. Okay, so cool. I call them my ride or dies because we have stayed friends forever. We're friends. It's like sometimes you're friends with people who you work with and you see them every time you work, and that's great. These friends are like my friends. Like we hang out, we do that, and we keep talking about like, oh, we should do something. So I'm hoping to do that. And then I also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Amy Vorpahl. And the last 3 months, and including in September, I've been teaching Dungeon Master School, and it's been going really well. And so my whole premise for the school is you don't need to, DMing is easier than people think it is. So more people should just have access to it, because as far as what you know and how much you're talking and knowing about 1/6 of what's going on at the table, because the other people are handling their own stories. But 2, you should have a place to like exercise, get reps in that isn't 4 hours, like 4 hours with
Yes.
everyone at the table. And so yeah, I've got little exercises that we do in class that demystifies DMing. That is like, oh, you just have to think of it this way. DM this for a hot second. Let's DM a quick combat. Let's do one turn of combat, 15 minutes. Let's go. What would that be like? And just getting, flavor text, some improv, some role play. We cover it all. And in September, it's going to be the final month. So it will have been 4 months with these people, and they're so good. And I can totally see an improvement. And the fourth month is about building and thinking about a longer term campaign and how to do that. Yeah. So it's been magical. And I think I'll do it again, because I feel like everyone's been like, oh, it's just this. Like one person said, well, I think I'd like to study more about, like, I would like to be good at improv. And I'm like, what do you think you've been doing? like improv isn't separate from what you've been doing. Like it's not. And so I think there are some things about D&D or DMing that people are like, oh, this is what it's like to be good at combat. And I'm like, no, the thing that you did was combat, and it was good. Like you just get these like kind of niggling words that poke at you. And I just keep saying, like, a deity didn't come down and say, you may improv and you may write, like that. None of this is sacred. Yeah. Look, if you did the verb, that's it. That's what it is. Like there's no barrier. But my experience is that people think there is a barrier, and some people do improv and some people don't. And I didn't do it because I don't know. I don't know what they think should happen. Like sparks didn't fly out of my mouth, I don't know.
Very cool. Heavens didn't open, beam of light.
Yeah. I wasn't bathed in divine light, but So anyway, and then I've just got a great Discord community as well. All of that's on my Instagram bio.
Cool. Wonderful. I will link to stuff in the description as well.
Okay, cool.
We're going to say goodbye, and I explain this every time. It was started by the first person I interviewed was a gentleman called Antonio D'Amico. He goes by Pointy Hat on YouTube. Great guy.
Okay.
But what we do is we're just going to wave at the camera, and it's just kind of awkward, and then I'm just going to cut some of it out.
Okay. I like that.
That's
I can do that.
Yeah. So if you would join me in a wave, and that'll be that. So yeah, bye.
Bye.